The Village of Lincoln Heights would like to call to order this law committee meeting. Today is September the 8th, 2020. The time is 5:35. Roll call, Ms. Lisa.
Councilman Durant Daniels,
Present.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Present.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell. No response. We have two who are present. We do have a quorum.
Everybody can bow their heads for a quick prayer. I just want to pull up right here. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for another day, Heavenly Father. Thank you for allowing us to come together and do your will, Heavenly Father. The things that you have us, the things that you want to be done for this village, they're going to get done, Heavenly Father. I just thank you that you allow us to be your pawns to do those things, Heavenly Father. In your Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Please allow all those who are making it to their destinations or who have not logged onto the Zoom meeting that they can do that successfully and peacefully, Heavenly Father. In so Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So first item I have on the agenda is and that's for me, Miss Lisa, just how it is on the agenda. I got it old business. It's 2020 goals, it's policy. And then one of the policy things we wanted to look into that just on how we make sure we clean it up is just
We need to accept the minutes first, friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a motion. Thank you. I got to get back in the habit of things. I have a motion to accept the minutes from our last council meeting of July 6th, 2020. I just need a motion to accept those minutes with any necessary corrections.
I motioned that we accept those minutes from July 6, 2020.
Do I have a motion has been moved and second. All in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you, Vice Mayor Jeannie. So yeah, just moving on to old business. We had a 2020 policies is some of the goals that we had. We just want to work on some of those policies and procedures. So one of them that we have is travel and training. And within travel and training, that includes, for instance, if we're going to NAACP galas, and that also includes if we're going to those type of things, that doesn't necessarily mean for travel, right? So I wanted to make sure just moving forward, if folks are doing those type of things, that there's a true return on investment or a true value that is brought back to the village. I don't think that is necessary. And I don't think that we're in the financial situation where people, even if it is just a small amount of dollars, when people are taking, a couple hundred, a couple thousand and using just to go on different galas and different events. And then there's no true benefit that comes back to the village. So yeah, that's just one of the policy things I think we can kind of work upon moving forward with yeah, just thoughts from the committee. That's just kind of how I want to introduce it. Yes, Ms. Jeannie.
I think I understand what you're saying. We have to do reports when we go to a conference or something. They should be similar or equal in value as far as you're going and you're spending tax dollars and money to bring something back that's going to be beneficial to the community, right?
Yes, ma'am. Agreed.
Yeah, and you're saying like sometimes galas or events like if you were I'm gonna use this as an example, like the Nikki Giovanni thing that's coming up. If there was a cause for that, why would we spend that cost to go to something like that or to a gala if it doesn't benefit the village?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
right?
Ma'am. No, agree. And if we do choose, yes, no, perfect. No, that's perfect. And if we do choose to do those things, and I'm not necessarily against, if that's what the village chooses in our budget, right? If we choose to say that we're going to spend X amount of dollars on galas,
I missed all of that.
I don't feel comfortable with it being. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. All I was saying is that no, I totally agree. And I just want to make sure that when we do, because right now it's coming out of travel and training. Because if council so has it, then I think that those type of things should come out of a different fund, or we have a different line item specifically like galas or special events, maybe special event, and we dedicate X amount of dollars specifically to that instead of it just coming out of travel and training without there being, like you said, a real return on investment. I just don't. I feel like that's a policy and procedure that we could kind of look into next year. So
Because I understand that we have to network with other people and mingle and get to know folks, things like that. But it shouldn't necessarily be under travel and training. Put it like different, like how we set out certain money for to go to DC, that conference, how we made that something totally separate from everything else. Okay, I can see that making sense. And that might even help with auditing, maybe. I don't know.
No, agreed. No, agreed. So I'm not quite, so even still with some of our policy decisions and things that's coming out of this council, the best thing I know is that we just make a motion to bring it above all of council. I know it's just us two right now, which is fine. It sounds like we're in agreement, but if you mind, to keep the meeting moving, I'll make a motion that we bring this item up to all of council and see if we can kind of get the ball rolling on this issue.
First, Mr. Daniels, I see that Ms. Mitchell is here now.
Oh,
can we go ahead and get her in so that maybe she can give us, since she's on the committee, hear what she has to say or see if she,
yes, ma'am. Let me,
or anybody else.
So Ms. Linda, I just want to make sure. So she is in the, is she trying to get into the meeting?
She's in the meeting. I see her.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Can the record be shown there? And I actually probably need to get off of my phone here and get back onto my computer. But can the record be shown that Ms. Laverne Mitchell is present at the law committee meeting? Hello, Ms. Laverne. So okay, that but yes, I would like to make a motion that we bring up the well, do we still think we need to continue?
I think we need to ask if Ms. Laverne, if she has anything she wants to share. I thought that's what we were going to do.
Nah, yes, ma'am. Let me, and then if you don't mind, because like I said, I was coming for practice, but I did want to make sure we did get started at 5:30 and my computer is booting up. Okay. I'm just gonna step off of this device and hop onto my computer. But in the meantime, yes, Ms. Laverne, we were mentioning, and I don't know how much of it you heard, deciding if,
unmute yourself.
I shouldn't be muted, but yeah, we're trying to decide if that moving forward, if our travel and training budget should be changed, that it doesn't allow i.e. different things like galas or Nikki Giovanni things, that there needs to be a separate line items that deals with that. But I'm going to log out of this one and then get back on. So please excuse me. I will be back in 2 seconds.
Okay, so I'm confused. What do you mean that the training and travel would not allow council to go to a Nikki Giovanni thing? I mean,
well, that was just an example. That was just an example. It's not Nikki Giovanni. Please, people, do not think that I don't want people to go to Nikki Giovanni. That was just the example because that's the first name that came to my mouth. It could be anything, I think. That's just the example that I use. But he made a motion. Are
you talking like the dinners?
Yes, I think that's
about. Well, so what came up that where we might have to change that? We've been doing that for years.
Nothing came up. He's asking. That's something that was on the agenda. He's asking, and then we're asking, what do you think about it? It's not something that just came up or happened. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he was thinking about it in his sleep. I don't know. It's nothing like that. Nobody doing anything like that. It was just a suggestion.
Well, it's on there as old business, and I don't recall us talking about it for training and travel before. So it's on for old business.
That might be on there. Yeah, that might be just incorrect, but he's the chair and that's what he started talking about. So
now it's under old business because we've been talking about policies and procedures for the past year.
That's right. We were talking about updating the policies and procedures.
Last meeting, we asked folks to pick out certain policies and procedures that you want to bring to the table. And this is one of the policies and procedures that I wanted to bring up to the table. So that's why.
But it's not old business. It's not like we discussed it in particular before.
We did discuss policies and procedures in 2020 as one of our goals, so it would be on the old business.
Okay, I was just talking about training and travel, particularly, Mr. Daniels.
But Ms. Laverne, that's really training and travel should not be B. It should be A and whatever goes up under A. That's what that is. Yeah, you're thinking, I know how you think. You're thinking school teacher wise, and the setup of it is really not B. It's just a continuation of the goals. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Because I tried to find it in the minutes. But I mean, I think that there are certain events that we should be attending that make us representatives of Lincoln Heights present. So, you know, not that it's technically training, but it's just like going to a luncheon. It's not training, but it's information being shared that may be of a particular importance to us as council members. And I believe the charter does talk about, you know, basically personal development so that we are able to represent and make good decisions. So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, is there a particular language that perhaps Ms. Pope can tell us about that we're not following in training and travel?
Okay, Councilman Daniels.
How you doing, Ms. Pope? So,
All right.
so just to make sure I'm clear on the front end, just make sure everybody heard what we were even explaining about is that we're not saying that travel and training isn't needed. And we're not saying that going to certain events for networking for the village isn't needed. We're saying that they need to be combined in the same line item. So if there is a situation, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Pope, because I'm sure you were on the call. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first of all, we got to correct that because we're under state of Ohio and we do fund accounting. So anything like that will only fall up under travel and training because the way the auditors categorize things, they categorize things with those last 5 numbers, and it's salary, benefits, travel and training, contract service, supplies, capital, and debt. So it can't go anywhere else but travel and training. Even if it's a luncheon, that's still, like Ms. Mitchell had just said, it's, you know, increasing your knowledge or whatever to the community. That's the only category that it can fall under.
So then what we also made sure we mentioned is that if someone was to go to a luncheon, obviously
That's
we're
the
all
same
doing,
thing.
yeah, obviously we're all doing reports. So then we got into the specific reports on if somebody's going to a luncheon type of training, how does that return on the investment be expressed in that report? So what we're getting to in this conversation is if we do, or even if it was out of another line item, if you're going to events such as galas, luncheons, etc., that seem to quote unquote have, if from the outside in, doesn't seem to have a true investment to the village, that report should express that how it does benefit the village, especially if we're spending money. How does it come back to benefit them in some type of monetary value?
Mr. Daniels?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I think when you go into a training where there is, it is a specific training that is something that all of council can benefit from. Yes, we do have something in the rules of council that say you need to come back and give a report. But if you're going to a dinner or something other than that official training, I just think it's courtesy. We just come back and say, yes, I attended and this is what it was about. I don't think we have to, when you say a return on the value, some things we can just, you know, talk about, but if it's a training and specific information to perhaps the duties of us as council people, or information that one of the administrators can use, I can see us doing that in a training report as we have done. But the example I can give is that I think Ms. Childs Jeter asked about the information about whether the school was going virtual or in class. And then it dawned on me, oh yeah, that was discussed in the luncheon that the vice mayor and I attended. So we were able to give that information, but it isn't anything that I think that we have to put in a report. I think it's a courtesy if you attend a luncheon or a dinner, something like that, just to come back and say, I attended and this is what it was about. But the training, actual training, then that is covered in the rules of council.
Ms. Jeannie, do you have anything else on this? If not, I'll respond and then I'll make a motion and we can keep the thing moving on that front, unless anybody else has any comments.
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Donna Pope. I'm sorry, Ms. Linda. I'm sorry, Ms. Donna. Ms. Donna, let Ms. Linda go. I'm sorry. Linda, I don't have it on the right screen. I just saw your hands go up. So can Ms. Linda, please respond on this comment. You're on mute, Ms. Linda. How you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Yesterday was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Because this is being recorded and Lisa's gonna put them in the minutes, what did I do, Miss Mitchell? I got lost there.
At one of the meetings, I don't know if it was a committee meeting or a council meeting, you asked about the training for the school, when the school year starts. Did anybody know if they were going virtual or classroom?
Oh, I asked about the opening of it. That's what I asked. Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh,
And it was mentioned at the Sharonville luncheon. Burton mentioned what they were going to do.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know what part I played in that. Thank you.
Ms. Pope?
Okay, so the last thing that I would say is keep in mind too that anything that you go to, whether it's a luncheon, if you want the village to pay for it, if it's mileage, if you want the village to pay for it, it has to be pre-approved. You know, you can't turn in an expense report and say I went here, there, and it wasn't pre-approved. So since we have that purchase order system, the mayor signs off on council members, and then Mr. Dukes will sign off on the staff, but it has to be pre-approved first.
Ms. Linda?
Yes, I'm sorry for interrupting your meeting, but when you say mileage, are you talking about in city, out of city, or any mileage?
I've only known the travel and training to cover out of city mileage. Like if you go to Columbus, that's covered. Because first of all, it's already pre-approved by the mayor, so we know we're gonna have to pay you mileage. If you going to downtown or somewhere, that normally hasn't been covered, that I know of.
So
They pay for parking.
if we're talking about in city, then I need to get you some information so you can pay me back for all these runs. Is that what I need to do?
If it was pre-approved by the mayor first, if it's not pre-approved, you're gonna get paid for it. You don't get reimbursed for it.
I'm at a loss. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so I don't know, I'm raising my hand, my own me.
Mr. Daniels.
I'm raising my hand, my own me. Ms. Jeannie, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think another reason why you might be thinking on this level, I don't know how you're thinking, but it also like to track maybe, because sometimes we might get a table at a gala, but it's not just council that go. Some council members may not be able to show up, so we have to pull somebody else in, but we're still paying that. Not that I'm complaining about that. I think we should try to fill our table. So could that be like another way of tracking, like we do with the DC conference money, how we put that a certain amount for that? Can we just have like a certain amount during budget time that's set for galas and luncheons or anything that's not a training?
But technically, I'm sorry.
Now, go ahead, Ms. Pope, because I had a question about that too with the NLC money. I feel like we put
technically each council member has a certain amount that they can use, that they're allotted per year. The NLC was because that expense is so high, we set a side amount for that. So it's still out of travel and training. It's just each individual council member gets 15 or 17, the mayor gets 19, and then we set aside additional 3,000 for two people, hopefully two different people, to go to the NLC since it was so expensive. But then, like I said, it's already pre-approved. So anytime you want to go to a meeting or anytime you want to go to a luncheon, or just like what Ms. Stinson, you went to something the other day or a couple of weeks ago, and it was $35, and you submitted a requisition for that.
Ain't been nowhere.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was
a
probably the
$35 luncheon
Sharonville.
or something.
The
Yeah,
Sharonville
You
luncheon.
said a couple of weeks ago. That's been a while ago.
Oh, was it a while ago? I lost track of time.
But okay.
Right. So it's still a process. And then I track it that way by, Ms. Randolph has a spreadsheet, and we can, we list every time you go somewhere, so we'll know how much money each council member has left.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, even on the pre-approval part, which also kind of even makes me want to ask this question even more. Does anybody else have a statement on this? And then I'll just kind of, like I said, I'll make my final statement, make a motion, and we'll keep it moving. So my thing is, even Ms. Laverne had just mentioned it as well, that there's some situations where the taxpayers are sending us places, and then does not have to be a thorough report of why the taxpayers' money was spent. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Even if we're just paying to send 3 people to the Princeton Gala to fill our table, there should be some type of statement or report that goes to the people that says, well, we spent $150, even if it's $150, to allow other members of the community to experience something different. I don't think that's hard. I don't think that it should just be subjected to just having a conversation verbally, when once again, we're spending the taxpayers' dollars for us to go out and eat and drink, or not drink, but drink water, not alcohol, but eat and you know, and socialize. If we're going to eat and socialize, I think the least we can do is have us come back with some type of report as to why the taxpayers' dollars were spent in that manner. So that's just how I feel about it. Yeah, for tracking, accountability, and even for assurance of why these things are done, because they're not going to be pre-approved. It's not like we pre-approve when we see a dinner all of a sudden, then we look up and it's, you know, it's a $500 dinner or something like that. So those aren't pre-approved. It just happens to happen sometime when we hear about it. So that's
Those are pre-approved.
Well, I understand his point though.
When I'm saying pre-approved, Ms. Donna, like we've already know that NLC is pre-approved per each year. When I'm pre-approved, like if Princeton was going to have a gala in December, we don't know about it right now.
Okay, right, okay.
And then it's like one of those things like that. So that's where I'm just saying, if there's a way we can clean that thing up and also have some accountability in a form of record. So if nobody else has anything on that.
Daniels, I do, but doesn't that mean when you say pre-approved, so if you're going to do the gala, we know that the gala comes once a year and not everybody can go. So the pre-approval comes with how many are going, and then the requisition is completed. And so that's pre-approval right there once it goes to the manager, the mayor, and Ms. Pope. But are you saying to say, okay, we're going to go to the gala and to do a pre-approval, we want to put something in the budget that says these many people will go to the gala? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying two different things. On the front end, I'm saying that I would like for us to have a set amount of dollars that are set aside for those type of special socialized training events. If it has to stay in training, travel and training, it would be nice if it had another line item that's socialized travel and training. That would be my first request. My second request would be, if you're doing a socialized travel and training event, that you should also fulfill the same report as if you were doing a regular travel and training event. Those are the two things that I would like to see done. And those are going to be the two things I was going to motion here in a second. But if nobody else.
Okay, and so the socialized is going to a dinner or a lunch. What is a socialized event?
So
networking.
Yeah, I would just, the terminology networking would probably be better than social.
Yeah.
No, networking. Yeah, that makes sense. Instead of just, you can definitely differentiate between a conference training versus a network training. And I think those can definitely be differentiated for sure.
Is your hand up, Miss? No.
Oh, yes, Miss Linda. Yes, ma'am. I'll go Miss Linda and Miss Jeannie if that's fine. Miss Linda and Miss Jeannie. You're on mute, Miss Linda.
If you have these special events, then we're talking about going in groups instead of individuals. If individuals come up with the different events that's happening in the city, should they pay for their own, or is that what you're saying? Pay for your own if you're going by yourself. If you're going with a group, we pay for the group. I wasn't clear on. I'm trying to read your mind there.
Well, Yeah, and more or less words, yeah, especially if it's within the city. If we're going by ourselves and it's like at that point it wouldn't be a pre-approved event, then yeah, I think that we should be the ones coming out of our pocket to do such things, unless it's an opportunity for the whole group to go and represent council.
But nobody's doing that at this point, right?
Not at all, not at all. And these are goals, because these were our goals, and one of our goals, Ms. Linda, was policy changes and policy procedures that we need to clean up and fix up. So that was one of the pieces. That's how that got brought up in this situation. Ms. Jean and Ms. Donna.
I think that when you started off, that sounded like a good idea, but I think that we can tweak this so that you have to put things, if you spend money, it needs to go in a report that you report. Anytime you spend money, I don't know as much as if you go by yourself, you got to pay for it first and you got to do it like that. I don't know about that one, Mr. Daniels, because sometimes things come up that it's just for us. It's just for economic development. Why do somebody else always have to go? Do you understand? It might be a time where everybody don't need to go.
Especially if it's in your own, like Miss Linda, she would have to go specific to it. That makes sense. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. So,
okay,
yeah.
So I think that what we need to do is maybe tweak this before we and come up with a little better, some more substance to it.
Yeah, but I think we got the right track where pretty much I think we kind of on the same page. And if you're spending taxpayers' money, you need to have the same report and same accountability as any other type of kind of training. I think that's kind of what we're getting to at this point. I think that should at least be, efficient enough where you're now, if you're doing certain things, it's on record of why you went, why the village paid for it, and what was the benefit to the village. I think we can go with that. So yeah, we can continue to, you can say we're still working on goals. So, and I don't want to keep up the whole meeting on one thing, but so yeah, we'll hold that motion off to the next one. But next line item on the agenda, if nobody else has anything else on this matter, next line item is Lincoln Heights police reform. And I know, Miss Linda, you gave
Mayor had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry. You're on mute. That's probably why I couldn't see your hand. You're on mute. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, networking, if a report is given, it's important because it actually lets the residents know that you're doing other things outside the village to bring this information within it, because that's something that I normally do. Some of the networking is not even money spent, but it's always good, whatever you're going to bring it back and just do a little FYI. And then that way the clerk of council, Ms. Randolph, has it, and people can actually see what each council member is doing, to move the village forward. So it is a good idea, but sometimes we don't get the reports, but good looking out, Mr. Daniels. It is good that when you're talking about networking, do that report for that. Or if it's not a report, do a little FYI, because the residents really appreciate when we going out, finding information to bring back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Phyllis, I know I can't see your face before we go on. I just want to make sure you didn't have any comments on this, Ms. Phyllis, before we move on.
No, none at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right. And once again, this is old business. And I'm sorry, Ms. Linda, if I did not have a better term for it, but I know me and you had talked about it. Lincoln Heights police reform. I'll continue to bring this up on every law meeting I have until we get a solid plan, a solid solution. I'm glad you're on this call, Ms. Linda. So once again, so our last meeting that we talked about, what would be some steps or how would be some ways that we could implement our own, or if it's not our own, that we have the police service and the accountability that we want, right? So the ideas that I threw out, and there was just ideas I threw out, is that we can, in this moment in time, we can start to invest in taking some of our 18 to 30-year-olds who's interested, put them in some type of training. So when they're done, they can be that first police force back in the Lincoln Heights and kind of getting that flow going and getting those things started. Obviously, this is a 2-year, 3-year plan of truly implementing and trying to go from a grassroots ground level, getting folks from our neighborhood to police ourselves again, And those were some of the ways that we got the ball rolling. I know, Ms. Linda, we wanted to have this conversation between us, the two of us, and I still want us to kind of move in that way. But I definitely wanted to open this up for conversation. Not necessarily any movement or any motions that need to be happening, but I just want us to continue to bring this conversation to the forefront that if there's an opportunity that we can have a police force or community safety force that benefits us in the way that we want to and serves us in the way that we want to, I'm all willing to have those conversations. So I open the floor up to anyone who would like to have that conversation. If not, I will keep moving. Yes, Ms. Linda.
First of all, we gotta take a look into what all that involves. And you have a village manager that you have to work with through that, because we okay if he signs off on it, or who, so therefore, we have about 3,200 people out here not all paying taxes. Can we sustain our own police department? Remember, that's the same thing with the fire department. Could we sustain it? Will we have enough money into the budget that from the levy coming in to pay for those? When we had the fire department, we had to go into the general fund to get some money out. Now that we are contracting out, we have enough money that's coming from the village to take care of that. With the police, you're dipping deep into the general fund. So you got to look and see what's feasible, but you want to do an academy. Am I right? Is that what you want?
I want us to begin to start that process, because once again, if we look at the last time we had a police service, Ms. Linda, and I'm bar parking it here, we got 6 officers with somewhere around $650,000. Now we're doing Hamilton County, and it's like we're almost in the 800,000 range, and we're only getting 2 rotating officers. So
okay.
my idea is that in the interim, like you still phase out with Hamilton County, but in that process, we recruit, some 18 to 20, 18 to 30, 18 to 40-year-olds that live in the village, young men and young women that would be interested in taking that academy, and then that first graduation class will be the restart of Lincoln Heights Police Department.
That sounds good, Mr. Daines. I'm not in opposition to doing some type of academy with some institution wherever, but you got to find out how to look. And a question to you is that, are we going to still pay your new people coming out the academy $10 and $11 an hour? That was a problem.
I would hope not. I would hope that we will be able to, once again, if our current police budget, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Donna Pope, is somewhere around $800,000, correct?
Yeah.
Police safety is over 100,000, correct?
Yes.
So I feel like within that, we still got some time. We still got, at least even with our administration here, we at least got about 12 to 13 months to come up with a time frame or come up with a framework. If we, like I said, I'm gonna keep bringing this up every month.
Okay. Well, just find out how to do it, bring it back. You have a manager there to sit down and talk to it, and maybe you can come up with a plan to do the academy. I don't have any problems with changing. I am not glued to the shaft, believe it or not. I just know since they've been here, we haven't had any lawsuits. With our own police, we had lawsuits, plenty of lawsuits that were sucking up taxpayers' money, including all that I spend out here per year. So you have to take in consideration all those things. So everybody wants their own, but own may not be feasible even in your house.
Yeah.
There's some things I want, I can't get right now, but it may happen later on. So I'm not against it, work on it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, like I said, owning a home comes with different things than renting.
Yeah, you got to know what the total price of this thing is and where it's coming from, but maybe someone will help you with that academy piece, and finding enough young folks out here to do that would be fine. Of course, you do need some veterans on there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got 2 hands. I'm gonna go with Mr. Dukes and then Mr. Laverne.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Daniels. Being that we already been under contract with the sheriff department, and no matter whether or not we do it in-house or under contract, the sheriff department is still responsible for offering support services throughout the county. So,
Exactly.
I mean, I would think, being that it's a contract, we could renegotiate the contract to where they would begin the transition, so that they would begin to do that academy as opposed to their form of recruitment through the jail. We could structure one that's specific to our community where we could look at bringing in those recruits and getting them trained and acclimated. And at some point, look, say within as opposed to continuing 3 year, we would look at, well, where would be a good transition to transition our own force back into play over the coming years, as opposed to just either or, being that they're going to have to be a player in the process either way, whether we have our own or we continue with them. But I understand that, yes, the community does really needs to see a little more of that diversity and, a little more of a control of how they would like that to look and function. Because right now, we receive services, but we have very little input as to, how that's structured. So I think maybe if we could go back to the table and see if we could reach an agreement to where the sheriff department will be a partner in that process and getting the village back to that independent status, that would be a starting point.
Yes, sir. I like that idea, especially, working together and working with partners instead of just make sure you just totally split. And even if there was I would even be okay. I'm gonna go with Ms. Laverne and then Ms. Linda, I'm gonna come right back to you, I promise. I would even be okay, and I don't think it's what you were saying, almost like a blended piece, right? I would be fine if we could work with Hamilton County and they say we had about 20 folks from the neighborhood that they can now train, even if it was under the umbrella of Hamilton County Sheriffs, but they're from the neighborhood, they went through their training program, and then they would be placed in our neighborhood. I would even be, that could even be something that would be, I'm not speaking for everybody, that's just me, but go, Ms. Laverne, you had your hand up, I want to give you the floor.
Well, I'm trying to get clarification because you sort of keep saying, get our own back, but I hear Ms. Jeter saying police academy. So are we trying to look at trying to recruit individuals to go to the county to be trained so that they can be placed in the village?
I think,
or are we looking at a separate police department?
I think what we're doing is we're currently brainstorming on what different possibilities and different options would be. I think we said that one option could be that while we have the Hamilton County Sheriffs here, is that we can have young folks go through and train and be police officers while Hamilton County Sheriffs are here. So if we did in 3 years choose option A, where we just remove Hamilton County Sheriffs and phase in our own police officers, we have trained police officers here that's already gone through certain training to be ready on day one. Another option we said is that we could have a police academy that now sends police officers to Hamilton County, and Hamilton County will then send those folks under the umbrella of Hamilton County Sheriffs that we currently have, we'll bring them back here to Lincoln Heights. So you have one that you would partner with Hamilton County Sheriffs, with our own people as a police. You have another one where we have Hamilton County Sheriffs phasing out while we have a new force of Lincoln Heights phasing in. Those are the two brains.
I think that those are good, but I like to know where and who, because that's a separate task force in itself, because we just can't come back to the law committee and just keep talking about it without coming back with some information. And I think one of the first things that we need to do perhaps is to, at this juncture, task Mr. Dukes to find out from PEP, where is our liability? Are we able to get that? All right. After 2 years, it's a possibility that you can back because you haven't had, as Ms. Child said, you haven't had any lawsuits. We haven't had any liability issues. So that's going to be number one. I mean, so that we'll know which direction we need to go. And I think it's important that we also know that somewhere around the village, somewhere in the files, there is a document where we had a police study done in terms of what we need and change. And I think that document would be important as you begin to look at which route to go to look at. So it should be somewhere in the manager's office. It's probably one down in the mayor's office that actually talks about a police study that was done about 10 years ago. We paid for this study to be done. So I think one of the first things we need to look at is what is our insurance status, so is that something that we can begin to look at, or what do we have to do to get that insurance and get ready if we wanted to go back to our own police department? And so it takes some other information or people to bring it back, because I hear you saying you're going to bring it up at each meeting, but if you're bringing it up, I'm hoping you're bringing it up with some documentation that we can look at and study.
I'm gonna have Mr. Dukes. Yeah, so I saw Mr. Dukes' hand up, but also the reason, and then I'm sorry, I did say Ms. Linda next, and now go to Mr. Dukes. So to respond to that, yes, and why we continue to bring it up, because the law committee is the only chair that is the only committee that I chair. And it's the only agenda that I can control. So this is the only time where I can bring it on. Now, if we want to talk about another task force and doing those other type of things, I'm all for that. This is just the only place where I know that we can have these conversations and still move them forward.
And I'm just saying, bring some documentation so that you can lead us in it and not just say, this is what we want to do. Let's look at some documentation.
Well, yeah, and then I know at the last meeting we brought it up, those are also documents that we had. Just having a couple football practice, I didn't know if everybody wanted to pull their emails back up again, but there are still things that were said on the last meeting that we can still use as a reference to this specific conversation. But thank you. Ms. Linda Childs Jeter.
Well, a couple of things. When you're talking about the sheriff, don't forget you're going to run into that the union. So the union directs what they really can or cannot do. And number two, what you need to do with the sheriff, because it is safety and police, you need to put it back over in that committee where it belongs and come talk about it. That's what you need to do. In law, you're talking about the laws, not the law, but the laws, and changing the ordinances and things that you have to do. So you need to send it on over there, and you got a group of people that you can talk about it and come and join. I'll be happy with that. I don't have any problem with that, but I don't think it belongs in law. It belongs in the safety part. The same committee that dismantled the old police and brought into the picture the sheriff, it should be the same committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Fire and safety, but welcome, come over. You can be the chair of that committee.
I like the idea of us working together on it.
Yeah, if that's where your passion is, and it sounds like everybody's in the same place, we need to do something about the overpriced sheriff department and try to get some of our people back in here. But you got to do the whole thing. You got to dig into everything, the cost, who's going to do the training, how much is it going to cost, and then you got to get the people there.
Yes, ma'am. No,
I mean, I may be wrong. Somebody correct me.
You sound good. Now, I concur with everything you said, Ms. Linda. Madam Mayor, you're on. Yeah, she's not on mute.
Okay, I agree with Ms. Jeter about the cost. Data is everything, and when we have to also remember, we need to look at the numbers that everything, police materials, equipment, we sold all of that. So we have to look at everything that we need to start back up, look at those numbers. So it's going to go, sounds like it's going to go from safety to finance. It's always going to be going between those two, because we have to see what we're generating for as our general fund and our levy. We have to come up with how much it's going to cost. So it's good information that you're talking about it, because we are going to be going into the end of, I think, what is it? The contract ends in 2021 or 2022.
I think we
just doing the 3 years.
just I think it's 2022 for the sheriff.
Okay, all right.
I think
So
it's
we
2022.
also, I would say we also look at fire and EMS and look at with the money we're generating, what each levy brings in. You may want to be one or the other, which, because I know your grandfather was a fireman. If we can't bring the police, maybe we can bring the fire department. It just depends on what the numbers look like and if we can afford it. That's all I had to say.
No, that's Miss Linda.
Get back to those $10 volunteer hours.
Yeah, nah, we don't want to do. Yeah, we want to try to pay folks a living wage the best way we can. So
We had a volunteer fire department. Did it become a full fire department, Laverne?
No, not really. I mean, you had a couple of people that were there full time, but it wasn't enough to man it 24/7.
Yeah, you got 2 people, you have 3 people that's supposed to be on board, and then 2 show up and then they get paid, and then
not doing no runs. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you do that? You're talking about increasing the pay to about $18 per hour. And I say that because in Mount Healthy and Finneytown, we're trying to do this merge thing where they brought the fire department over there with them. And they were talking about the time. I don't know what it is today, $18 an hour to get a police fireman over. So imagine what a police officer would cost, So it's about taking time, doing the job. If we all want to do this, do it. If council said we're sick and tired of the sheriff department and we want something different out here, then let's investigate and do it. If everybody want to do that.
Amen. Yes, ma'am. Does anybody else have anything else on this issue? Because we're kind of going to transition still into safety a little bit. Yes, sir, Mr. Dukes.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm just going to add and say about the startup cost or the restart cost is what's going to be just as big as the insurability. So, you're going to have to kind of look at putting a plan together, maybe even to the point of hiring a consultant to come in to help the village construct that and see what the true costs are. And also within that plan, identify some funding to help with that startup and transition. And again, it wouldn't hurt to begin a conversation with the sheriff department to see if they would be willing partners, and maybe we could craft something they could take back to the union that would be amenable, So I guess it's just the conversation with the sheriff department, 1, and 2, finding the funding to get us a plan put together to, what that would look like and what the true startup cost would be in today's numbers.
And how to sustain it. Once you get it, how do you sustain it?
All that needs to be in the documentation, so we'll know how to proceed and whether or not it's worthwhile.
Well, it looks like we got some good next steps to move forward. So, I like the way this conversation is going. Ms. Baber, once again, I'm just going to keep always, Ms. Baber, just offer you because I just don't see you. So I want to make sure, Ms. Baber, did you have anything on this conversation?
No.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
No problem. So we can move on to new business. It still has to do with safety a little bit. So we continue to keep talking about the installation of speed bumps and continue to get residents continue to complain about people speeding up and down certain streets. I have 2 questions. A, just the cost of the removable plastic speed bumps. Do we have an idea of that cost? And then B, does the price that we're paying to Hamilton County, does this not include some safety equipment in there? And wouldn't some of that safety equipment include traffic equipment, i.e. speed bumps?
Well, Ms. Jeter has her hands up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Linda. I know if I'm in your lane, I'm sorry.
Get out of it.
Yes, ma'am.
But you're always welcome to bring that. I guess I am a little against the speed bumps as to what I've heard about them in certain areas. Okay, that would be along Adams Street in the school district when you're coming down there. And if you hit one of those bumps and the kid go up in the air, it's going to injure someone. So I have a problem with that. Now, other areas, maybe not so much, but anytime any of those bus routes will create a problem for me. And that's what I have to say about that. But the police was supposed to put out the speed things.
Right, yeah, that's why I thought they could at least put the speed bumps up. So that's why yeah, so, yes, Ms. Laverne.
To me, the best thing to do is, we have an engineering company. We need to ask them for a feasibility study on whether or not we can, and where we can use speed bumps, what it will do to our streets, and what that cost is. I mean, we need to use them because this is like the second or third time we talked about it. So we have to take it beyond our table. We need to go to them and say, hey, can you all do this for us? Let us know. And I'm sure they will, contact the sheriff department to find out what the speed has been based on the speed track that they've had up in many streets. So, but we just need to let somebody come back and let us know what that's going to cost, what type will probably be best for our streets.
So you need a speed study.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Let me let Ms. Vice Mayor go. She had her hand up.
Does it cost us any extra money to contact this engineer? Because I don't think we need to pay somebody extra money for what we already know for months. It's not 2 or 3 times. For months, the sheriff got on here. The man said what he said he was going to do in Charles Jeter's meeting. He said, I said, sit out here in front of my house. You seen him in front of your house yet, Mayor? I haven't. I don't see them sitting in our speed traps. They don't sit in our speed trap. They got to do their job first before we spend money to tell this man to tell us what they need. The sheriff already need to do.
Well, I agree with you, Vice Mayor, but all I'm saying is.
Hold on, Mr. Byrne. I got you. We're going to stay in order. Mr. Dukes, you were next, and I got you, Mr. Byrne.
Well, I think the speed bumps, I guess in some communities they still work, but what I've seen on a national trend is most communities are going with those solar powered speedometer signs, where, when you come into an area, it tells you how fast you're going. And some of the signs have cameras and some of them don't, but normally when people see how fast they're going, they tend to slow down, Now speed bumps, again, it's still going to take some enforcement to go with it, anything we do. And so it's still going to take, say, in the areas where there's routine speeding, if we get a few traffic citations handed out, speeding tickets, then that's going to help. So it's going to take a combination of things. But like you say, the removable speed bumps could be something we can look at, but because when you put in permanent speed bumps, that increase your resurfacing costs.
We had this conversation though, when Mr. Dukes, when you weren't here, I thought we had already said that the sheriff, matter of fact, well, can we just pick it up in Charles Jeter's meeting so we can keep this one going?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Yeah. I'm sorry once again, Ms. Child, for stepping in your line. Yes, Mr.
Well, what I was going to say is that we're part of the problem, and I know I am, and I'll say it that way, is that because we didn't check on it to see if they had actually put something out there. So in the areas where you see that that's a problem and nothing has been done, shoot me an email and the manager, and he can talk to the head down there who is supposed to make this happen. He did promise it, but we didn't send him a reminder. I didn't look at it anymore. Maybe we need to try something different. So we're all at fault with that. Every one of us.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed. Myself included. Ms. Laverne?
Now, again, I'm just saying that to me, some type of documentation that says where we think they need to go, what's the cost of the removable speed bumps, why are they what we do with them? They're stored at the village removes them. What would be the need to remove them? I'm just saying documentation. So that we understand the full benefit of the speed bumps or any disadvantages. So whether you do it here or in Ms. Jeter's committee, but some kind of documentation need to be provided.
Ms. Ruby? and then Miss Linda, Miss Ruby, then Miss Linda.
Okay, so I did talk to Lieutenant Boying about 2 weeks ago and asked him while we were on recess what was going on with the speedometer, and he wasn't sure. He was trying to locate where it was at, but we've been waiting for a while. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and you know, me, myself, and Vice Mayor, we're confronted on a weekly basis, every weekend, especially by the neighbors, worried about their grandchildren getting ran over on this part of town. And,
Yep.
and even now, over the weekend, another person on the other side of Van Buren, one of the residents, is worried, is upset about the speeding of cars. So
They don't
the
stop at them
visibil-
stop signs.
yeah, they're not stopping, and she's worried somebody's gonna get hurt.
And Mangum is a problem too. And kids play up on Mangum on both sides all the time. So, but you know, again,
And I think we all kind of agree on this. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Miss Linda. Yes, Miss Linda.
If you visit the Hyde Park area, they do have those big speed bumps. I mean, if you go over one of them, you are in the air and then you land. But it's not in the main part. It's on those the residential pieces about, you know, what Buskin is, that street that goes up to Fifth Third Bank. If you go across one of those things over 10 miles, you're going to go in the air. I've experienced it, I can tell you. So, you know, if you want to do the side areas, but also, I believe Mayor and someone else, I'm not sure who it was in a meeting with the engineers when we were talking about the sidewalks going up straight up McGee.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about speed bumps with them, and they were not in agreement with those speed bumps. I'm thinking back, maybe or maybe not. You know, we did talk about talk to our engineers. We could do.
It was,
what'd you say?
It was part of the Safe Routes to School.
Right. You know, so we have talked to some engineers about slowing folks down in that area, and they were not in agreement with those speed bumps.
Yeah, and so it sounds
they may not be in agreement, but like I'm saying, when it comes, somebody's gonna get hurt. We just have to look at the data. Somebody's gonna get hurt. That's all I can say. I mean, it may not be around the school, but we got some areas in the village in Lincoln Heights. We really need to look at doing something, and nothing's happened so far. And next, the residents are gonna start calming down and filling out more complaints because they're worried about the children and themselves.
Yeah, and Mr. Dukes has said it best is about enforcement. Like we can continue. We're just the rule-making side of this whole governing body. That we need somebody to enforce these rules and enforce what's going on, especially if there's cars that can be identifiable and everybody knows what the car is. There's kind of no excuse, you know, for some of these actions to continue to take place. Final comment on this thing, Ms. Laverne.
so the mayor said something about looking at the data. So Mayor, do we have data, or is there something that is in the Safe Route to School where the engineers, state engineers have said why they disagree with it? Because if there is some data, I like to look at it.
They were talking about some data, but I know as far as when it comes to the two wrecks that we've had, one on Douglas and one on Dixie, which was head on, that's some data right there. And so I had mentioned it to Chief Amos about how we can get additional information from them when it comes to the speeding and the responses that they've had to go to when it comes to the car wrecks within the village. So that's some data also. We just need to, like you said, documentation.
Compile it. Okay.
I will reach out to Chief Amos though for Ms. Jeter's meeting.
Thank you guys. All right, so just moving on because it's already 6:34. Want to make sure we get on these. So, our last council meeting, there was a vote that went 3-2, and obviously everybody knows that the vote, even though it was a 3-2 vote, did not. I don't know what the legal jargon is at this point, did not stand. So with that, I'm sure, I'm not sure the best way to go about this, but in the past, there has to be other 3-2 votes that seem to have stood, even though it was not a quorum. Miss Lisa, I don't know if I'm about to give you more homework, I apologize, but we need to make sure that any 3-2 vote that was succeeded if, according to Mr. Deepak has said, that any 3-2 vote where we need a quorum of, where you need one of 4, according to him, according to our rules, any 3-2 vote, then those rules should be, looked at and figure out, if they should still be standing. Going back and looking at that, it really had me thinking that anytime that we've had a quorum of 5, so we had a quorum of 5, 3 people said yes, 2 people said no, and our solicitor said that that's not a ruling of the day. So anytime that's happened in the past, then we need to kind of look it up and see what those legislations were, what those rules were, what ordinance passed in those type of ways, and make sure that they still stand. If not, we want to make sure we're not working in any type of illegal or any type of backwards way. So like I said, Ms. Lisa, yes, ma'am. I think I just gave you more homework, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about that.
Councilman Daniels,
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
talking about for 2019, 2020, 2018?
Well, see, that's the thing now, right? It's anytime there was a 3-2 vote and we only had 5 people in council, if it was a 3-2 vote and it passed, it shouldn't have, according to our village solicitor. So I might be talking about, and it may be over the next, I think he said this rule was implemented in 1995. It might be going back that far, Ms. Lisa, and I don't know. I don't even know how that would even begin, but that's something we're going to have to do, because at this point we had a precedent set, and now we've reset the precedent. So we've reset the precedent. We got to go back and make sure that we're excuse my acronym, just make sure we're CYA over here, that we're all good on our end.
Kathy's trying to get in the meeting.
Who is?
Kathy's trying to get into the
Kathy
meeting.
is? I don't see her. Let me see. I didn't see any invite. That wouldn't be from me.
Maybe it's ICRC people need to see that.
Okay.
So Councilman Daniels, if I understand you correctly, you want me to start from 1995 to 2020 to see any kind of legislation that might have had 3-2 votes?
Yes,
and to
ma'am.
let you know about that.
Yeah, and Ms. Lisa, if there's a way I can help you with that, like if there's some type of,
I think you should.
I don't want you to feel like you gotta. Yeah, I don't want you to feel like you
I
just
know
gotta.
it won't be by the next meeting, probably.
No, not at all. I'm assuming we have time, because at this point, if these rules have stood in place for the past almost 20 years, and I'm sure there's been other 3-2 votes that have passed, and then just all of a sudden out of nowhere just say, oh, it doesn't pass. So now we just need to make sure all those things that happen like that go into place. Yes, Ms. Linda.
I have no idea about what you're talking about not passing 2 to 3. Help me out with
So at the last council,
but I don't have it all, so tell me.
So the last council meeting we had, we made a motion. We made a motion that had to deal with how our village manager can work, because there's rules in council that says that our village manager has to be present from 9 to 5 in the building. So given the fact that we were in a COVID situation, I made a motion that allows our village manager to work remotely. That motion went a 3-2 vote. 3 people said that our village manager should be allowed to work remotely. 2 people said that they didn't. At the time, we assumed that our thing had passed. Then our solicitor came back and said it did not pass, that there is a contradiction in our rules of council. That rule 2 states that majority of council needs to make rules, but rule 3 says a majority of a quorum needs to make rules. Now, how I understand law, and I'm not a lawyer, any rule that is a higher number, and I brought the example, Amendment 13. Amendment 13 supersedes any amendment before that. So Rule 3 should supersede any rules above that. Our solicitor disagreed and said that that our motion failed because we needed 4 votes instead of 3 votes. So right now, I'm curious as to how many votes went on a 3-2 vote when there was only 5 people in council and it passed. And it sounds like, according to our solicitor, it shouldn't have.
Okay, so can I come back with this?
Yes, ma'am.
That was yesterday. move into the future for me and bring about something that said this is the way it happens with anything. First of all, was the motion made before anybody knew that a manager or anyone else could work from home, other than the governor saying that stay-at-home orders. Okay, so if the government will allow that to happen, make it a law or an or a you know.
That's what we were trying to do, and that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to make it a situation where it's just our rules now, because I for one think it's a silly rule to have in there that you have an employee that needs to be our village manager, whoever that person is, needs to travel, needs to make others. So the fact that our rules say he needs to be present from a certain time period in the time frame, I think is kind of hustling backwards in the first place. So that's why I introduced that motion. But once again, and I agree, and I do agree with you though, Miss Linda, because the very next item is, let's just go ahead and nip this in the bud and decide what our rules of council are going to be. But
is it a rule of council? Is this something that, because you are law, so this is good, that you put together something that the state, remember, we're under the government piece. I don't have any answers here. I'm just saying, do we need to look into what we can or what we cannot do? We have our own set of rules here, and they may supersede some other things, but where is it that is stated this was unusual, and the governor did come back in and say that we are working from home, and he didn't want us out into the atmosphere unless you were an essential worker. So did he call the management position essential worker or what? See, there's a bunch of stuff to go with this. So do the research and come up with the answer. That's just a suggestion to you. So that what we're getting ready to do is do some grievance stuff. And we have enough of that going on in the world. In order to move forward, let's put some things in black and white that will allow that to happen for anything in the future. We didn't expect COVID-19, but it dropped on us. So what do we do in this emergency preparedness piece? That may very well be a part of it, that you can work from home, but it's not listed anywhere that I know of. Somebody else may know. And I'm just suggesting that, so I can see it's headed to grievances. I don't want to be a part of it.
No, I understand. And I can see, and that's where, once again, I want to make sure I'm clear. This has nothing to do about any grievances. And that's the unfortunate part, because, and I can see how they can come off that way, because my concern is, and my truly concern is that we have rules of council that, according to what the precedent that we just set, no longer are in existence. And we just done talking about lawsuits, and we just got done talking about policies and proper procedures. And if we have laws, regulations, and ordinance that were set on a 3-2 vote, and we don't know if those laws truly are set in stone, then we could be playing a dangerous game. That's all I'm saying, Ms. Linda.
So what happens if the decision that was made, the 2-3, comes out to be okay? What does that put us? I mean, you know,
that would put us in the sense that we've been working on the same precedent that we've always had.
Okay.
According to my knowledge, and according to other council members' knowledge, anytime there was a 3-2 vote, that ruled the day. This is the only unique time that a 3-2 vote did not win. So if this is the new precedent that we're setting, then we need to go back and look and say, okay, this is what that means now. Then that's the new rules. So that's just how unless, once again, I could be wrong. Ms. Laverne, you had your hand up.
Yes, I just want to remind you that one of the things that Mr. Desai did say, that one of the things that we're looking at is what is in the charter. Okay, so the charter says that you have to have the majority of the elected officials, which is 7, which would be 4. Now, and our rules of council are saying 3-2. So of course the charter is going to take precedence. So if you want to change something, you're going to have.
That's not what it happened. There was rule 3.
But listen,
we
have to change the charter. We have to change the charter, because if the charter is saying one thing and our rules of council is saying something else, it's the charter that needs to be changed. Because yeah, we can change our rules of council at any time that we want, but the charter supersedes the rules of council. So if we want to go to that 3-2, we need to change the charter.
That's
And
not.
I would also suggest, Mr. Daniels,
Mhm.
that we contact the Ohio Municipal League and ask them for, some information or some advice or how we can proceed with that. We can always go to the Ohio Municipal League.
Mhm. Agreed. No, agreed. Anybody else have a thoughts on this? So we can continue to move on because it is a segue of updating.
Donna had her hand up, I
Oh,
believe.
did you, Miss Donna? I'm sorry, you froze on mine. It's like you just out. You like you on the. So I didn't.
You in San Francisco.
I know, right?
Miss Donna, I'll say shoot.
I was wondering to be in awareness of the task that you're issuing, Miss Lisa Randolph. Could it be just until the time that this present council took place, like if it was 16?
Because I don't think we've ever been in that situation. I know.
Right. But I'm saying if this particular council voted 3-2 on something else, instead of going back to 1995, where some of those people, God rest their souls, are dead and gone. What about just this particular council, since this particular council is affected by that 3-2?
Now I feel that too, and I've been trying to figure out the best way to go about it, right? Because once again, it's not a malice situation. It's more so with the fact that, as Mr. Desai said, this is something that was brought up in 1995, and he doesn't.
Right, that's a long time to go back.
Yeah, and the guy, and once again, our solicitor said that he has no current knowledge of this ever happening before, even though, it is what it is. So my concern is that we have some laws on the books, or we have some rules that have gone on that somebody can simply go back and say, well, they'll pass this on a 3-2 vote, and it doesn't even stand. And we're sitting here in limbo. But I do, and then I feel you, Miss Donna, and I feel you, Miss Lisa. I'm not trying to put extra work on you. And Miss Lisa, if you can help me think of the process, right? I just don't know the process, or even how we can even go about even starting this project, Miss Lisa.
Mr. Daniels, one other suggestion. What about from the time that Deepak was the lawyer, since he said this hasn't happened since he's been here?
How long?
That would cut it down to 15 years. It'll cut it down to 15 years instead of 30.
Around 2008.
I got Mr. I think I got Mr. Duke's hand up, and then Miss Linda. But I'm gonna go. If you don't mind, Miss Linda, I'm gonna go.
Well, if it's legal, as you say, if it's precedent, you got to go back to, the date that the law was established, and because you're changing something at this point that has been in place, and unfortunately it's a lot of work, but it's truly going to affect a whole lot of things, and it has to be answered. So I don't think there's
an effect in a negative way, though. It could be a negative effect, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking.
I could,
but whatever you want to do that work, put that work in. But
I say it could, but at least we would know. At least we would know. We wouldn't be surprised by anything. Like, at least we can always say, "Hey, this is an issue," and we at least would know and wouldn't be sidebar about anything. Miss Linda,
move it forward and plant whatever you need, and make sure whatever you thought should or should not have happened doesn't do it again. When you get ready to dig into it and bring about more people doing this grievance thing, and it's just going to be ridiculous.
I understand. It's not personal. It's not a grievance.
Oh yeah, it is personal. I can see it. Yes, it is. My opinion only. This is personal. I'm looking at two people that's personal.
I appreciate
that. And I'm looking at your faces, and it's personal. So move forward, correct the action, whatever it is. Make sure we have it documented. Now, we want to go back to 1902 when everybody was doing whatever they wanted to do. if we want to go back, well, we were not here in 1902, but 74 years ago when they first started this, and then the charter came about, I'm not sure what year, but the charter came about and it addresses some things. Then you got the state rule that says the charter overrides something else, okay? So even if you have your home rules there that said this happened, that happened, and you gotta go to the charter. So I don't know all of that. So that means that you're gonna make me do some homework and look into it. So I'm just saying, correct
Not a
it,
bad idea.
moving forward. Not a bad idea. I can stop doing your work then, okay?
Yeah, I just think we all should look into it. We all should look into
Yeah.
it. Take the charter, read it, and find out what's going on. Because Deepak was not here the whole time.
All right. And with that, we can move on to C, which is just making sure that we do have an updated rules of council, and where we have and we'll make sure our rules and our charter and any type of contradictions are cleared up. And that just gets back to the policy piece. And I kind of knew B would flow into C, and I just wanted to make sure that I stated for the record that I do want to make sure that we update all those rules and all those and our charter to make sure that they match and work together with each other, that we do not have these problems moving forward, as you said, Ms. Linda. But as we said before, I want to make sure that we are not in a bind, or we're not putting ourselves in any situation. Yes, Ms. Laverne.
So one of the best ways to do that, so Ms. Jeter or any other member of council doesn't have to do all that background work, that's where the charter review committee comes in. So,
The charter review committee that is not working.
but I'm just saying, so we need to make sure we have one appointed so that we can get that done, or at least help council work through all of that, because it takes a lot, but we do need to try to find some individuals for the charter review.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Well, it seems like somebody's playing the wrap it up music like we're at the Grammys, so I'm gonna make sure.
Well, I have something to say.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Jeannie.
I had a list of things here that I wanted to follow up on. I didn't realize we had moved down to new business. So I'm going to say them, and if somebody can just follow up with me on my questions, that's fine. I don't want to hold up your meeting.
No, you got the floor.
This is from when I read over the minutes. I like to, somebody on council taught me that after you put something into motion, you need to make sure that is motioning. So, okay, did we figure out the towing as far as the code enforcer and junk cars? We were supposed to find out about towing. Do we tow? Do sheriff tow? Who gets the money for it? And if it's the sheriff, why should they get it when it's our village? Also, just an update on code enforcement. And because there's a car on Jackson, a gold car with all the windows busted out, believe all the tires are flat, glass everywhere. It's a hazard. That should have been priority over. I don't care if we don't have nobody in the village to work at all. That car should have been removed just on GP, because it's very hazardous. Also, the use of the facilities. Did the signs ever go up, posted for COVID? And did we put down the cement things for the signs? Because we say we're doing a lot of things, but then stuff never got done. Where's the hand sanitizer, all that stuff? Follow up. What's going on? That's it.
So I am curious on the first item you did bring up, just on towing. Because I know you said that any questions, Miss Lisa and Mr. Dukes I think she just asked them to email back. But I am curious on the towing piece. Do we have just an idea of who?
Well, we had a conversation with the sheriff, officer in charge out there, Lieutenant Boeing, and he indicated, that the sheriff could tow those cars that were on the street as well as the vehicles that were on the property. So it's just a matter of the sheriff's
That's not my
department.
And who would get the benefit of it? So that makes sure you're clear, Ms. Jeannie. And then so if the sheriff,
as far as the funding piece, I don't know if there's anything in place that says how the funding goes.
Meaning who tows the car?
Well, the sheriff department the sheriff department has their own towing company.
That's what I'm saying. Why do we have to be, I was about to say a certain word, but why do we have to allow them to make money off of our stuff in our village? Why are they making money off of us? Plus we're overpaying them. That's why I don't understand. Why do we have to send our people to them?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Dukes, you have the floor.
Well, I mean, that was something that I was working on, before I was not working. So, to talk about that fee structure and how do we collect it? What's the process? What's the process going to be? We can talk about it, but we still have to put these processes in place. We have to talk about how we're going to collect it. If we tow the vehicle, then what recourse do we have to collect on that money? To fine them. So all these things were in the works, and basically we're just got to pick those up out of limbo and reapproach them and see how we proceed. But everything's kind of been in limbo, and I know beforehand we did talk to the sheriff as an interim strategy. Yet whether they go through us or not, they have that authority to tow the vehicles if they deem it necessary.
They legally can. Now we need to make sure that when they do it, that we get our funding for it. Ms. Linda, I got you. Ms. Laverne had her hand up. I'm going to go to Ms. Laverne and you, Ms. Linda. I got you.
So are we saying that the sheriff can do that, but do they have to have a ticket from us, or they have to have a work order from us? So
No.
If they see it, they have to do the investigation as to what, is it a junk car and what constitutes a junk car? I'm just saying, if they see it on the street, not on private property, right? They can't move it off private property, but they can move it off the street.
You said they can. I thought you said they could. I thought you said they could go on private property, Mr. Dukes.
I think they can. I think we had that conversation. I would just have to kind of confirm it and have Lieutenant Boeing, maybe he could come to the safety meeting and we could rediscuss this.
We talked about fining. My contention would be, let's remove it. Ain't no sense in fining them. We want it removed. And if they take it to their impoundment center, why should we get any money? I'd rather not go through that.
I didn't say that we should get no money.
No, I'm
the whole
saying
process,
that,
if there's a ticket involved, what if it's not just towed for because it's broke down? What if it's something on it, a vehicle? I think that they shouldn't be able to go get another junk car and put it back in their yard, because people have done it and nothing happens.
Okay, but if they move
they're still breaking our code. So the fact that they're breaking our code, there should be a penalty involved.
I think we should have our own towing company, because they're still making money off of us. Let us choose the towing people. And let us do that, because it's sheriff equal more money to the sheriff. I don't care. I'm not giving no money to none of them people no more.
So if we have our own towing company and we use Tri-State Towing, they come get the car, and then they take the car to their impoundment lot, and then the resident has to go down there and pay them for storage.
Yeah.
Where do we get money?
Come to us first.
Where does our money come in from?
They got to pay us the ticket first. They have to pay us the ticket first, and then once they pay us the ticket, then they can go get their car.
Then they can go pay the release fee.
So don't we already have something in place for ticketing? We don't have anything in place?
Yeah, we have the ticketing in place. I mean, we can cite the vehicle, cite the.
Okay, so they will come to court, right?
Again, we never got clarification of whether we're going to bring it to mayor's court, or are we just going to cite them and mail them a ticket or fine and expect them to pay it. We didn't ever get to the point we were talking about. Do we just go that route of mailing them a ticket, or do we bring them, cite them, and they have to come through mayor's court to rectify it? We never got to that point to say, okay, how do we proceed?
And if you don't want to fight it, I'm curious, like if you just want to admit guilt, you always have the opportunity to just pay the clerk of council, the clerk of courts, get your receipts, and get your car back. If you don't want to dispute it, then your car be sitting there. sounds like the options. But that's me. Miss Linda, I'm sorry, you didn't have your hand up, Miss Linda.
It's okay. I don't mind waiting. A couple of things. I got a generational gap going on here because for some reason, I don't know how this happened. I agree with Laverne. I'm sorry. I'd rather see the automobile off the street. Whoever receives the money on the other end, it's not an eyesore for us, and it's been taken care of, and the safety part is in place. So that to me, I don't have to deal with, but to the manager, we discussed all this before, and it had to do with language on the tickets that you give out. If the sheriff and the sheriff department does not agree to the language that you have, but what they have, then they may not do all that. Now, I'm just saying that for anything that you want them to go on private property and do whatever, it has to be okay with their set of rules. So you need to go to them and find out what's going on there. And then the next piece is, well, back to clearing off the streets. We need the streets cleared off. I came down Jackson Street up by the new homes, and there was a whole car torn apart where everybody could see it, and they were working on it out in public. So as long as we allow these things to happen, then we're going to have the issues in the community that everything that you need to get done out here, you will not receive money from the owner of whatever that is. And one of them is a car. If it's removing the car and the towing company, whoever it is, the sheriff or down in Lockland, then, you know, it's gone. And that's the way I feel about getting these cars out of the neighborhood. I did call Mr. Dukes today about something that was going on in the neighborhood. You don't have a 100% code enforcer. We need to hire a code enforcer that will give us all the hours we need to ticket these people. So we keep doing this piecemeal stuff, and you get what you go after.
Mr. Dukes.
Well, here's the thing. You know, I don't really think it's so much the individual as it is the policies and the processes in place. You know, until the village has a clearly defined set of policies and processes for which that code enforcement officer follows and adheres to, we're still going to continue juggling. Even if you hire someone, they're still going to have to come in and figure out what are the policies and what are the procedures. And that's what I've been working on. The house on Jackson Street was cited today because, our communities are somewhat, the residents oftentimes feel that they're unfair targeted and are somewhat harassed. We decided to put in place a 4-step code enforcement process where you get a courtesy warning. That courtesy warning was issued today. And speaking with the service department, out of 10 service courtesy warnings that were issued last week, 7 have been rectified. Now, and then the actual citation has now been issued. From the citation, once we go back and cite it with the 3rd citation, we can actually do the work and charge the individual. The question then is, okay, how do we collect and how do we hold this individual accountable? And that's where we need to say, okay, what's the process? Do they come, pay the clerk to have it released, or do we take it to mayor's court? You know, that's where we are. And until we have those policies and processes solidified, no individual code enforcement officer can do the work. We need the policies and procedures clearly written and solidified so that there's no mistake of how things are done in the village. And that's what we've been putting in place.
Okay, I thought that was done. I thought that was done before. Before you came on. That was done through Katie, whatever her name is.
Carrie.
What is her name? Carrie.
Well,
Carrie.
could someone show me what that looks like? There should be a policy and procedure in place.
There should. Everything should have a policy and procedure. Everything.
I haven't found it.
Yeah, you're correct, and so there's work to be done.
Miss Jeannie, Vice Mayor.
Okay, so if for things that's a health hazard, if we had a building that was getting ready to fall down, we would do something about that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Miss Jeannie. Go ahead, Miss Jeannie.
I'm sorry. Let me apologize to you. When you got to that one, I just thought about that house that fell down on Simmons or Bird. Bills.
Bills on Bills.
Bills.
That same, well, anyhow.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's what
It's still there.
I think that, well, what's the timeline on the policy thing? Because that car that's on Jackson, to me, anything that's a health hazard that can cause somebody harm,
we don't need
immediate attention.
Well, that's a sheriff issue. We can send them out to ticket it, put their sticker on it, and
think
get
about
it
the ticket. It's a sticker on there that looks like it's about 3 years old and has been peeled, dust.
That's
somebody needs to go by there and see
this. That's the sheriff department ticket, and they need to follow through on that. But I will talk to the lieutenant tomorrow and tell him that he needs to cite it, and if it's been cited, he needs to just immediately get it removed. No additional citations needed. Just get it removed if it's going past the time. Okay. But if I could, Mr. just comment on the housing again. There is, I think, CDBG money from last year as well as this year to do some demolition. And I was also working to go ahead and work with the county and the Port Authority to go ahead and identify those properties and move forward to get them removed. But again, when you have this time lag, everything kind of slips.
So can you still work on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we can put in for those properties, because I keep passing by the one on Bill Street and I'm saying this is definitely a big hazard. So
yes, ma'am.
That's the worst. That's the worst building that I have seen out here. It is the worst building.
I will contact the county tomorrow. And, just let them know we're going to receive that money, as well as get the contact at the Port Authority and try to go ahead to see what kind of timeline we can look at and see if we can't get some type of emergency movement in place.
Yes.
And can you provide us?
Hold on, Mr. Byrne, Miss Ruby had her hand up. Mr. Byrne, Miss Ruby had her hand up.
All right, Mayor Mumphrey. So I just wanted to bring that to attention. When myself and Vice Mayor went to see the house on Bills, that had to be about, 2-3 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we did is, we contacted the health department and they sent somebody out. So as far as what happened when they came out, you might want to follow up with them, Mr. Dukes, but we were expecting for the house to be torn down at least within a month after they came out and looked at it. And right now it's about to hit the sidewalk. There's also a burned down house on that Chamberlain, or that Bird.
The Chamberlain, I think.
Bird. It's on Bird. The burnt down house is on
Bird. The brick house. The two-story.
That's been burned for a couple of years now. So those type of structures that are safety issues, along with the school being, people are starting to go in there, and we need to get that secure. That's one of the dings when we were working with Hamilton County Planning and Development, that we needed to secure the old YMCA. So those are some safety issues that we need to try to get rectified. We can't wait till the end of the year, because we've been trying to make it happen for quite some time, for several months.
Well, if you have the name of the person from the health department, I'll definitely contact them and see if
Ms. Pope has that information, because we made sure that she was aware of it while you were away.
Okay, I'll speak with her on it and talk with the county and get the port involved and see if we can't get some real quick movement on these properties.
Mr. Byrne, you had your hand up, or you had something you want to say?
Well, the one question I'll say for I'll send to Ms. Jeter, but Mr. Dukes, if we can get a list of those properties that you are submitting to the Port Authority for demolition, I'd appreciate it.
Well, yes, ma'am. The mayor mentioned the other house. That's been a priority. Yeah, it's those two.
Oh, just
I think
those two?
Well, those two, but there's the old apartment, 4-family apartment on Adams.
Jackson.
Oh, is it Jackson or Adams?
Jackson, next to where Herc is building, next to where Miss Rob is having a house built. It's in the back.
Okay.
I think that's.
Yeah, that's on Adams and Jackson, those buildings. There's one right on Adams, just what's that, east of Douglas, that where people are constantly dumping. It's overgrown and it's really an eyesore. I think it's just across from Miss Baber.
The burned out building is on Jackson. Right, but the burned out building is on Jackson.
Well, here's the
Can
thing.
we continue this in safety?
Yeah, I think we got.
Kathy still has her meeting.
Yeah,
I suggest we all send our concerns to the manager, and he can put them on a list and send them back to us. And as they are done, we can cross them off the list. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I thank you for that, Ms. Jeter. If you all send me the properties that you know of, I'll add those, and then, you know, I'll let the council decide what the priorities are as far as which ones they want to pursue.
That all sounds good, and that sounds good to me. So we have, we'll get all those things to you, Ms. Linda, and that way we can continue to keep this moving forward. So I got a little bit distracted there. So we have one more item, item D. If you don't mind, just for the sake of time, we table this to the next meeting. It's more so a question on just kind of the actual review. And I know we were talking about, I know we do a review for our village manager, but then we talk about the review of solicitors and, you know, clerks and all those type of things. Just what's that process? Who does it? As we continue to talk about policies, but we can table that to our next meeting just for the sake of time. So unless anybody had any pressing matters on this issue. All right. Anything on other?
I have something on other.
Yes, ma'am.
Since we have more people on this, I want to thank you for yesterday and all the people that you brought out. It was a wonderful event. The movement is going to be up and going through the community soon.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, Miss Linda, and I guess I know I really do, and we appreciate those on the village that came out and supported, and once again, we
need young folks. I'm old. We need young people.
But we need the wisdom. We need the wisdom that's provided, and then once again, we're just about the betterment of the community, and I think that's why we all do this council stuff anyway. Our you know, our monthly checks not justify the work that we do. So I know everybody's here for the good of the village, and so is the Heights movement as well. So I appreciate that, Ms. Linda.
And let me also say, push the census, please. Ask your friends, neighbors about the census and voter registration. And everyone should have received by now from the Secretary of State if they want to get the absentee ballot. So those things we need to the push out there. Census, we're not at quite 60%, and people are still not answering those doors.
Okay, we'll continue to keep pushing that on every platform we have. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Does anybody else have anything for other? I apologize, Ms. Kathy, for taking up most of your time for your meeting. If nobody else has anything for other, we don't have any public comments, and I like to make a motion, we adjourn this law committee meeting. Can I get a second? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It's been moved in second. All in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? There are no nays. Thank you guys for a wonderful meeting, and I turn this over to Miss Kathy Goodwin-Williams.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. I was about to go upstairs on y'all.
Let me see, give me 1 second.
Okay, call to order the Economic Development Committee meeting. on Tuesday, September 8th. What time is it?
7:13.
7:14 p.m. Roll call, please. Lisa,
Okay. Councilwoman Kathy Goodwin Williams,
present.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Present.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Present.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell. Okay, no response from Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell. Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Present.
We have 4 who are present and 1 who is absent. I guess, okay,
Don't worry about it. Keep it moving.
4 present, okay. We do have a quorum.
Okay. Anybody for prayer? Want to do prayer?
I can do prayer.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Father God, we come before you thanking you. Thanking you for waking us up this morning, Father God. We thank you for allowing us the opportunity to serve a beautiful, wonderful community, future city again called Lincoln Heights. We'd like to ask that you watch over us during this meeting, Father God, and that we only do the things that you would have us to do. We ask these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Man. I'd like to make a motion for acceptance of the previous minutes from the last meeting, July 6th.
I motion to accept the minutes from July 6th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody else? Okay.
Aye.
Okay. Old business, mini planning grant. At this point, I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Dukes, the village manager.
Thank you, Ms. Goodwin Williams. I went back through my emails, being that we received the grant, news of the grant, I think 1st of June, the award where the county had awarded us the mini planning grant of $20,000 for them to do the land use element in-house to update the zoning and the land use maps and future land use maps for the village, and help us look at how to best develop the community moving forward, and where is the appropriate place for new housing, infill housing, commercial, industrial, and those things, and just to make sure, check the existing zoning to see if it's up to par, or it needs to be updated. So we did receive the award, and about on the 25th, as I checked my email, June 25th, they sent over an MOU to be executed. At that time, I was not allowed to work, so I instructed Ms. Pope to take the document and discuss it with the attorney, and for any comment, and then bring it before council for execution. It was an MOU, and I don't think that ever happened. So at this point, I need to contact the county and see if we can pick that up where we left off. Go ahead and put the MOU on the next council meeting agenda, and go ahead and get that approved and start the kickoff. There was a schedule attached to the a scope of work and schedule attached to that MOU, and it just outlines how the project manager looks to proceed, which I'm certain that the Economic Development Committee would probably act as the steering committee for the land use element, and then the council could possibly be the overall policy guidance. So we would just have to see if that funding is still on the table, and if we can't kind of resurrect it and get things moving on that. So I will contact them tomorrow and send out an email to let Ms. Goodwin Williams know, as well as the council, where the status of that mini planning grant and whether or not we can look forward to putting it on the next council agenda. That's all I have at this point. I'll have to kind of, like I say, get in touch with the county tomorrow, the project manager that was identified, to see if that grant is still a go.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I just got a question, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Regarding the CDEP grant, I know there's a deadline coming for the upcoming CDEP grant, and I wasn't sure if Mr. Duke or Ms. Pope had received information, because the deadline is on the 14th, and they're going to need someone to sign off on the pre-application. Had you received anything on that, Mr. Dukes?
I received some, I think they did a few webinars and they kind of put that information out, but it was during a time when I wasn't back at work yet. So, but there has been some things that I've received and Ms. Pope has received, but I guess, Ms. Pope plate has been kind of full. So that's something else I'll be, I got to talk with the county as far as some other things, as far as the home improvement grant. I'll also see if I can get up to speed with the CDEP and try to look at what it's going to take for us to put an application together and pre-application. But I'll speak with Joy tomorrow. I'll give her a call or an email to see where we are with that.
Okay.
Because they've had a few webinars and things of that nature regarding the grant.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
I was just gonna ask Mayor, any information that you had that you can, if it's a deadline of 9/14, if it's anything, information that you have that you can send to Mr. Dukes to update him on it. So since that deadline is in a few days.
Yeah. Dan Ferguson is one that I talked to, because I was wondering about the Bean property, and I had some information to give council on that as far as the Bean property, and another individual that's looking to sell his property. So that was some information I was going to give you, but because of that CDEP application, we could it's only for this one, it's only like $20,000 that could be possibly a study for down there at the Bean property. He's looking to sell, and the Mr. Fisher, his real estate person is needing us to reach them. But this particular CDEP, I'll contact Mr. Dan Ferguson and have him reach out to you like tomorrow, because it has to be turned in before Monday.
Okay, if you could give me that information, I'd be happy to follow through on it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they may have sent it out because it's been out there for a minute, but I'll get that information to you.
Yeah, I looked through my emails, but I wasn't, responding to anything at that time.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, new business? There's nothing on the agenda addressing new business.
I had some old business that I wanted to just real quick. Okay, I'm gonna go. We talked about habitat houses, and I know they're finishing up there. How many habitat houses did we actually agree on? I can't remember. And is that the number that's up there? And how is Ms. Calhoun adjusting with her new surroundings, with her backyard? Because I know how long she's been there. And did we ever figure that out, whether or not we were on her land, not on her land, how that works? And my other stuff is under miscellaneous.
Okay.
Well,
Matt, I had an answer for
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind. So on the habitat houses, they just finished the 6th one. They're about to close on it. That's the one next to Ms. Calhoun. They made an easement, I'm thinking, I guess where her air conditioning unit at, that's their property, but they made an easement. But as far as How she feels about it, I'm not sure how that's working out. But since you mentioned Habitat, they are doing a Rock the Block October 10th, which I'll be giving y'all information on at Monday's meeting. This one actually is geared to community projects. Megan from Habitat for Humanity, she came out. Vice Mayor it was during the time she was working. So myself and Ms. Pope met with her, and when it comes, they're not going to do houses with this Rock the Block. They're going to do like a community project. And so we've been talking about the Memorial Field. So we showed her the weeds and everything that's going alongside, I guess, Kindergarten Hill. So she's going to be spraying. They're going to come out and spray those weeds. And we've asked them for a community project. That's one of the projects for them to cut those weeds alongside the football field. But she'll probably be coming out before that happens and give you all a scope of the project as well. But just wanted to let you know that's what's going on with Habitat and how many houses.
Okay, Mr. Dukes, were you gonna say something? Oh,
Well, yeah, well, as far as Ms. Calhoun, I don't know how she feel at this time, but I got a voicemail from her that I need to give her a call back. So I will call her and see if, you know, what the issue is, or if she has a concern or a question. So, and I will.
I can tell you how she feels, but it's not appropriate for this setting. Vice Mayor?
Okay, yeah, because I'm not for sure. I don't know the young lady, but I think that in the future, if we, like with Habitat or anybody, that we consider their neighbors. Because to me, I think that we put a whole bunch of houses over there, not thinking that lady been over there 50 years, and now she has no backyard, no what she used to have, or whatever, even the view. The houses are beautiful, but I think Habitat squalls or whatever the word is, they tight. It's tight, and I would have been angry, but the houses do look nice. But
Madam Chair, if I could, well, that was one of the things I did speak with Habitat and try to intervene before the other house was built, and try to talk about potentially identifying another lot that would be more appropriate rather than squeezing that last house in there. But you know, they were.
Well, from the research I did on that last house, it seems like a lot of the decisions were made early on without council's, you know, knowledge. Not that we would have really anything to say in terms of how the transaction transpired. I looked because I thought maybe there was something illegal, some legalities that were questionable that happened. And I didn't find anything. Now, ethically speaking, I might question some of what happened, but you know, there was nothing illegal about the way that they did it, but ethically, I think that there might be some question. But you know, you can't, you know, people do their business the way they do their business. So, but I agree with you that we should have taken into consideration Ms. Cottrell and not allowed them to squeeze that last house in there, especially when the village manager offered them a trade to build a house at another site that was owned by the village, but they chose not to accept that. Ms. Mitchell?
Did Marcella agree to the easement?
No, it was when they did their survey, Madam Chair, if I may, when they did their survey, Habitat, it was discovered that Ms. Cottrell's property, her house was over, her AC unit was over in the Habitat lot. So Habitat was the one that provided the easement.
To her, so to speak.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but the lot dimensions were correct.
Well, it was a 40-foot wide lot, so yeah, I mean, legally they could build, but because it was squeezing and the proximity, and then the driveway is next to Ms. Cottrell's bedroom window and things of that nature. So,
But it just wasn't a good neighborly thing to do. But I think what happens a lot of times when you go back and survey the property, when those, you know, houses were built, and whomever built the houses may have just, you know, made the decision to take a little bit of property that wasn't theirs, but unless somebody
Right.
comes along and surveys it, that's happened to quite a few people I know around here. I mean, my next door neighbor, part of, his neighbor is on his property. So, you know, what do you do about that? They both have, you know, she's been there for, shoot, her parents own that house. So, you know, what do you do?
I just wanted to make sure that the lot size was right, because the first thing
Yeah, I looked.
to my mind
I
would have been whether
looked.
they
I
should
did.
come
I
to us
looked.
for
I
a
did all the
variance.
research
Okay.
to, you know, make sure, and it's, you know, it was all Habitat's property. So whomever built Miss Marcella's house, you know, the dimensions were incorrect. So yes, Miss Childs Jeter.
All I can say is that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all I can say is that Habitat squeezed a lot of juice out that lemon. They are entirely too close. It doesn't make sense, and they need to reconsider their new projects.
Go ahead,
Madam
Mr.
Chair. Yeah, and see that leads to the importance of the land use element and the zoning, because right now I think some of the setback requirements are outdated in the village. I think the minimum setback is 6 feet. And that's what they went by, where standard, usually a side setback is 10 to 15 feet. So we really need to look at those ordinances and bring them into, you know, into the current, you know, year, to make sure that this doesn't happen going forward.
Okay. Anybody else on that subject? Nope. Okay. Any new business? Nope.
Oh, Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
At Monday's meeting, let me see which one is coming. I think Miss Rob is going to be coming. Miss Rob from the Port Authority. I ran into Mr. Miller at 788 Bird, and I think he's coming with her to just give you all an update of that house. He's coming, and I think she's coming. 2 different people, but Mr. Miller is going to be coming to one of the meetings to give you all an update on how he's working on that house. But Miss Rob is going to be giving us an update on the Jackson Street. So she'll be coming at Monday's meeting. I think it may be during the regular council meeting. And then CMHA, they're going to be coming, Madam Chair.
Jackson.
Huh? CMHA is going to be
Vice
coming.
Mayor was asking what house.
The ones that's building house on Jackson. So CMHA is going to be coming, bringing a scope of the project, just to give council an update on how things are going to work for its renovation of Marina Terrace. And they'll be coming either the 14th or the last meeting in September. I just want to give that information out as well. And they'll be doing a PowerPoint. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody else? Okay. Open to the public? Nope. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Childs?
Rosen.
I didn't want anything. I was just waiting. I was the public.
Okay. Miscellaneous business.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to discuss the big elephant in the room. Like, how are we going to transition this, or how does this work? this economic development transition with things that's about to go on in the next 30, 60, 90, however many days.
You asking me, Mayor?
I'm asking the panel.
I'm gonna ask, can y'all, we had that discussion at the council meeting?
Okay, that's
Yes,
fine.
ma'am.
All
That's
right.
fine.
Any other miscellaneous business?
I ask that you don't have it at all.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Well, that's
What are we
fine. That's
talking
fine.
about?
We ain't got to talk about nothing. You ready to motion to adjourn? Because I got a date.
You go, girl.
Okay, any announcement?
I just did. No.
Councilman
I'm
Daniels
sorry,
did
public.
this.
I'm sorry. I'm joking.
Date night.
I would go with
I
my
don't have a
same.
date.
I would go with my same two announcements in case someone's looking at this different. That is Census 2020, Census 2020. Call your neighbor, friends, frenemies, loved ones, and ask them about if they filled out the Census 2020. It's very easy to do. They can do it with you on the telephone. Okay, so when I say you, I mean that you can help them get through that process by calling and plugging in the information. Also, vote, register. Fill out the absentee form that you got in the mail from the Secretary of State, who's getting them out late for me, because we've done most of that work. So encourage folks to take what they have and use it. Our vote is very important, and the census is important. Vice Mayor talked about going back to a city. You can't get there if you don't fill out the census. Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements? All right, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye. Be safe.